Okay, well, we're going to get started.
I do what Taylor says, so we're going to get started.
Yeah. Hopefully everybody grabbed a drink and got cozy because it'll probably be like an hour or so.
Yeah, settle in.
Yeah, get ready. So anyway, I feel like everyone here kind of knows about our podcast.
But we're going to tell you about it anyways.
So we started our podcast back in February, and with the idea that, Colleen loves true crime. I don't listen to any true crime. And I love anything paranormal or, I don't know, conspiracy, cryptids, aliens, which you like some of that too.
Yeah.
But you stay away from the ghost stories.
Yes.
So she'll never let me tell her a story. But when we started this podcast, I have all the opportunities to tell you scary stories and she has to listen.
Yeah. I'm basically locked in a room and forced to hear the stories that she's been holding on to for 10 years.
Yeah.
So we hadn't said the name of our podcast. I've got something to tell you. And we are a true crime paranormal podcast. We are also going to give a little bit of a disclaimer at the top that because we are a true crime podcast, we are going to be covering some true crime that involves death.
Murder,
yeah.
and everything that falls under that.
Yep.
So today, normally I'll cover a paranormal story. Colleen will cover a true crime. But today we're going to do a joint story. We're going to be covering the Amityville Horror.
Yep.
And if you know this one, don't spoil it.
Keep track.
Because there's a little bit of a twist at the end. So with that being said, should we get into it?
And we are going to get into it. Thanks, guys. Please appreciate it.
It's our first live show.
Yes, this is our first live show. We're incredibly nervous, but thank you guys all for being here and supporting us.
Mm-hmm.
So Taylor and everybody, I've got something to tell you.
Yay.
And this all kicks off in Amityville, New York. It's a small village, which it's actually not considered a town because it's so tiny. It's less than 9,000 people, very posh and affluent. It's beautiful homes, waterfront properties, and even some famous people had homes there. There was Fred Stone, who was a popular actor, and he'd have guests like Annie Oakley over all the time. Do you know who any of those people are?
No.
I didn't think so. I put that in for our parents. I thought they might know. One person you might know, though, is Al Capone.
I do know that one.
Yeah, figured. But he was said to own property there as well. But so, real nice place. However, arguably the most famous people that are known to live in Amityville were the DeFeo family. And the DeFeo family are well off. They live in this big white Dutch colonial house on 112 Ocean Avenue, right on the canal. From the street, it's like perfect. Like, it's actually a really pretty house. I'm sure you've seen pictures of it. Mm-hmm. If you Google Amityville, basically all you'll see is this house, unfortunately. But it's 2 stories, black shutters, red brick chimney. It has beautiful crisp green lawn that goes all the way down to the water. There's even a little boathouse and a dock out back. Cute. But what really made this house famous is the windows. So up on the top floor, there are these angled windows that almost look like eyes.
Oh,
yeah.
I kind of like that.
I knew you would. So people said that, even though the house is stunning, gorgeous, waterfront, all of that stuff, if you walked past it at night, it almost had this humanistic energy. Exactly. You already know. Mm-hmm. So now at this house on 112 Ocean Avenue, like I said, DeFeo family lives there. We're gonna talk about them just a little bit. Ronald DeFeo Sr., known as Big Ronnie, and his wife Louise had 5 kids. They have Dawn, who's 18, Allison, 13, Mark, 12, and John Matthew, who was 9.
Why was his name Big Ronnie? Was he just big?
He's a big guy.
Oh.
He's big, and his name was Ronald, and Ronnie is a short name for Ronald.
Cute.
Cool. Then they had their oldest, who was Ronald Jr. He's named Junior because Ronald Sr. and then Junior.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. But he has a nickname too, Butch.
I didn't see that coming.
And he is 23 years old. So on the outside of this family, pretty cute. They're successful. They have the big house, nice cars. They have family dinners every night. But inside, as all of these stories go, is chaos. So we're going to start with your guy, Big Ronnie. And he is a loud, large man with a super short fuse.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I would expect it, I think.
I feel like if your name is Big Ronnie, like that's...
Got a big attitude.
Yeah. So he's controlling, short-tempered, and violent. I thought you had a question, sorry.
Oh, no.
Okay. But he is violent, especially towards Louise, the wife. Neighbors said that they could hear fights between Big Ronnie and Louise from down the street. They would hear yelling, doors slamming, like glass breaking kind of fights. Like, Big Ronnie's also a big douche. Sorry, Mom. Louise would always show up to places. She would have bruises and also excuses for the apparent injuries that she had. So definitely not a warm or loving home. It was quiet in the way where like they were just kind of waiting to see what set Big Ronnie off next. Mm-hmm. I'm going to keep calling him that the entire time, just so you know. Also, fun fact is that in the early 60s, Big Ronnie apparently co-wrote a love song to apologize to Louise after one of his worst outbursts. This was recorded by jazz singer Joe Williams, but it was meant to be like a grand gesture and like a romantic apology. I heard it. It's not that bad, actually. So he's toxic but talented. So the song works and Louise stays. She is a devout Catholic and she believed in family and forgiveness. So basically all she wanted to do is like, her whole goal is keep the family together. She's there to keep the kids happy and make sure they're protected. But despite her attempts to protect them, there was a lot of damage already done, especially do you have a guess?
Wait, damage already done?
To the kids.
Oh.
Butch.
I thought it was the wife, maybe.
Yeah, well, yeah, her too. But we're going to switch gears to Butch now. So the oldest, Butch Ronald Jr., he definitely had it rough. When he was little, Big Ronnie once hit him so hard that he slammed into a wall. And after that, people said he was never quite the same. So, head injury.
I mean, that's not funny, but...
Yeah. Sorry, we did say there was going to be awkward laughter. So, after the head injury, he would fly into rages, he'd have blackouts, and he started showcasing the same kind of temper that his dad had.
Do you think that happened to Big Ronnie, too?
Probably.
Like, the head injury, like starts...
I imagine that he, like, might have self-induced a head injury. He seems the type of guy that just
banged his head on the wall.
Like, for fun.
Yeah, I could see that. Unhinged.
Yeah, exactly. So Lil Ronnie, or Butch, by his teens, he was already using heroin and LSD. He was skipping school and getting into trouble. Instead of helping him, Big Ronnie took the more appropriate approach, as you should, to help kids with problems and just bought him gifts. And so he thought this would calm him down. One time he gave him a $14,000 speedboat.
That's a big gift.
I feel like, yeah, interesting parenting tactic.
Yeah.
So Big Ronnie also worked for Louise's family car dealership in Brooklyn. And in other attempts to help Butch, he would put him on the payroll there too. So he would give him kind of like odd jobs around the dealership, including bank runs. So he would like take the money that they got from the dealership every day and take it to the bank, which seems like he's a super trustworthy respectful guy.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect job for him. One of those bank runs, about $20,000 disappears. Butch tells the police he was robbed, but nobody buys it. Like the detectives.
Yeah, he should have started with maybe 100 here and there, not
Just
over 20,000.
skimping off the top a little bit more. Go big or go home, Taylor.
I guess.
So, like I said, nobody buys it, and Big Ronnie is pissed. And so there's this huge blow up back at the house, and it's the biggest fight that I'm just gonna call him BR now, because.
Are you tired of saying Big Ronnie already?
Yeah. Once you get to the level me and Big Ronnie are at, you can have a nickname for nicknames. So, big fight with BR and Butch, and this is the biggest fight that they have ever had. And normally when they get into fights, it kind of blows over, but this one doesn't blow over like the others. Days go by with the family sitting in silence. Butch and BR are ignoring each other, just making it super awkward for everybody involved. So that goes on for days, and now we're going to cut to Wednesday, November 13th, 1974. So it's the morning. Things are still heavy at 112 Ocean Avenue. But the DeFeo family from the outside just goes on with their day. Butch goes to work at the dealership in Brooklyn. He does the same commute, clocks in like normal. It's all routine on the surface. But through the day, he starts awkwardly and consistently reminding people that he can't get in touch with anybody at home. And he's bringing it up an uncomfortable amount of times.
You're I get it.
Yeah, we heard you the first time. So he keeps saying he's been calling and no one's picking up. It's so weird. Did I mention that he's been calling and nobody is answering at home? Yeah. So he's not exactly panicked though, because after work, he decides to meet his friends for a drink at Henry's bar before heading back home. He tells his friends that he's now that he's got a few beers in him, he's genuinely worried about his friends or his family. And so he decides to go home and check on them. But only a few minutes later, he bursts back into Henry's and he's freaking out, yelling, "You gotta help me. I think my mother and father are shot." Only a few minutes later.
Whoa. So he must have ran home real quick.
Yeah, I didn't time him, but so he's there with his group of friends, including Bobby Kelsky and Joe Yeswit, who are sitting at the bar. They had been there with Butch before, so they chug their beers and decide to go with Butch to assess this situation.
I love that they finish their beers first.
Yeah, you got it. So they get into the house. So they get to the house and they go inside. It's eerily quiet. One of the guys says that he could hear an alarm clock, though, going off upstairs. Somebody just slept through their alarm, but it keeps going. And they're it was weird, though, because, they felt that there was absolutely no movement in the house. I thought that was creepy as... Yeah. So they start up the stairs, and Bobby Kelsky takes the lead. He walks into the primary bedroom and hits the switch. And this is why we put the disclaimer up front, people. But Big Ronnie and Louise are both there, face down. The bed is soaked in blood. And from where Bobby is standing, he can see a wound in Big Ronnie's back. Louise is not moving, and it's instantly clear that this is not someone may have shot my parents to someone has definitely shot my parents. So Bobby yells for someone to grab the phone, and Joe Yeswit runs to the kitchen, grabs the house line, and calls for help. He says, "We have a shooting here. We're at 112 Ocean Avenue." And they get the dispatcher on, and a police officer comes on the line, and Joe says that the friend had ran into the bar and that they're at his house now, and he says, "Everybody's dead." So Joe's still on the line, and the guys are looking through upstairs, and that's when they find the boys. They walk in the younger DeFeo brothers' room, and this one's going to be rough because they're 8 and 13, so just warning you. There are 2 small beds, both occupied with lifeless bodies, faces down. Mark and John Matthew had both been shot at close range in the back, just like their parents. Bobby immediately runs back down shaking and tells Joe what he saw. So the operator is now asking again how many are dead, and Joe says, I think 4. It's 6:30 p.m. at this point, and Joe, while on the phone, is watching Butch's reaction to all of this, and he can just hear him under his breath whisper, I have 2 sisters. But he says this in a way like, you haven't found them yet, or like not in a way that he's like concerned about them.
Yeah.
So Bobby now makes his way to the attic where Butch says his sister's rooms are, and Allison's room is first. Allison is face down. She has 1 shot to the head. The round had entered her left cheek and tracked through the right ear, which seems like a very aggressive piercing. Then they go into Dawn's room. She's also face down, but unlike the other, she has been shot straight in the head. Bobby runs back down and tells Joe what he's found, and so they say that's 6. The house immediately becomes a crime scene. Police take Butch to the station where all of a sudden he is Mr. Helpful. He tells the detectives that this was definitely a mob hit and that the name of the person that did this was Louis Fellini. And
like all that information all of a sudden.
yeah, he's like, wait, I took notes earlier. So the DeFeos actually do have mob connections, and Louis Fellini is actually a well-known hitman within the area, so they take this really seriously. They don't think he's joking, like they put him in like a holding cell for his own protection, like that kind of thing. But the thing is Fellini had a really good alibi, and I imagine that like most hitmen probably have like a Rolodex of alibis that they can just pull out when needed. Yeah, but this one actually checks out.
He's like, this wasn't my work.
Yeah, honestly, don't give me credit. So this takes a big chunk out of Butch's story. I'm sure he was leaning on that. And so they hold Butch overnight and continue to question him. Things start unraveling really quick. His timeline becomes more and more wobbly, and by the next afternoon, he completely folds. He confesses and flatly says, once I started, I couldn't stop. It was so fast. Yeah. So what he lays out to the cops is brutal and methodical. In the Merling? I like to make up words in this podcast. And sometimes we don't know what I was trying to combine. In this case, it was morning and hours, and we got Merling. So
I like Merling better.
Cool.
So.
Trademark it. So in the early morning hours, around 3 a.m., you know,
the witching hour. Oh, sorry.
So
Got
he
too
takes.
excited.
3 a.m., he takes out a 30-30 lever action rifle, and he goes room to room in the house. His parents are the first ones. They get shot. Then his brothers, and then his sisters. He describes them as he shot them all facing down the way that they had found them, and there are no signs of a struggle. And later, testing finds that there were actually no sedatives in their systems and no suppressor on the rifle.
So that's what makes it quiet, right? Or no?
Yeah, a suppressor would make it quiet.
Oh. Okay.
So this is what's crazy is like a 30-30 rifle apparently is supposed to be really loud.
And he had time to shoot all of them with that loud rifle.
So you might have been onto something with him being real quick from the bar to
Got quick feet.
Yeah. This dude might have been racking up PRs. But so no one wakes up and no neighbor reports hearing anything from the house.
Weird.
Really weird.
Unless they were in on it.
That's not the conspiracy we're covering today. So Butch admits that afterwards, so he goes through everything that he did, admits it all. And that afterwards he showers, changes clothes, and starts cleaning up the crime scene. He tosses his bloody clothes into a storm drain and throws the rifle into the canal at the foot of Ocean Avenue, all while on his way to work. And that's when he clocks into work and goes about the whole I can't reach my family routine straight to his performance at the bar. So Butch's trial starts on October 14th, 1975. His attorney, William Weber, pleads insanity, saying Butch was hearing voices who told him to kill his whole family. But the state's psychiatrist says that he's a heavy drug user with antisocial personality disorder and knew exactly what he was doing. The jury does not take long to deliberate, and on November 21st, 1975, they find Butch guilty on all 6 murders, and he is sentenced to 6 counts of 25 to life sentences. Taylor's favorite question, is he alive today?
Mm-hmm. Is he? No? Okay, good.
She likes to know if they're alive so she can go find them.
Exactly.
All right, well, just 13 months after the November 13th DeFeo family murders, and only a few weeks after Butch's sentencing, a new family moves into 112 Ocean Avenue, and this is where Taylor takes over.
It is. Okay, so George and Kathy Lutz and their 3 children, well, Kathy's 3 children, move into the DeFeo household, and they're well aware that somebody was murdered there a year before, but they don't care. They got a bargain. It was only $80,000. So
some people pay for murder houses, so
that is true. Maybe they're I was gonna say maybe they're just weird, but I mean they are weird.
Yeah.
So they were only in this house for 28 days, so I am going to go over what they experienced week by week. So the Lutz family arrived at the house full of nervous excitement. The place was large and partly furnished, still holding remnants of the DeFeo family's belongings. That afternoon, a local Catholic priest visited to bless the home because they thought having a priest come would fix the whole issue that 6 people got murdered the year before.
You're gonna need at least 3 priests.
Yeah. As he sprinkled holy water, he reportedly heard a deep male voice hiss from the inside of one of the rooms. Get out. Scary.
Not hissing.
I know. Shaken, he later called George Lutz to warn him not to sleep in the former DeFeo master bedroom. But the line filled with static and a high-pitched hum before the call abruptly ended. That night, Kathy noticed how unnaturally cold it was inside. Despite the heat being on, George piled logs in the fireplace, hoping to warm the house, but as the flames flickered, he became fixated, staring into the fire as if entranced, oblivious to Kathy calling his name. So over the next few nights, the temperature dropped further, cold spots began appearing throughout the house, a strange sour odor drifted from room to room, but it alternated between the stench of sewage and perfume. So, I don't know. They couldn't find the source. So then came the flies. Kathy found dozens clinging to the windows in one of the upstairs rooms, a bizarre sight in the middle of winter. And she described it as swarms of flies, which is disgusting.
Yeah.
When she swatted and left to fetch paper towels to clean it up, she returned to find the corpses gone. They just vanished.
Ghost flies?
I guess. Phantom flies. As nights passed, the family began hearing soft thuds and creaks echoing through empty hallways. And then George started waking at 3:15 in the morning, every morning, heart racing, with the overwhelming sense that something unseen was watching him. And you just told me your story. You said 3 a.m. So I'm assuming they meant 3 a.m. Not 3:15, not the 15 minutes. So that was obviously around the time that the DeFeo murders occurred. So he was waking up every morning that time. He said that when he would wake up at this time, he would hear what sounded like people moving around downstairs and would at times see shadow figures. By the second week, the activity grew darker. One night around 3 a.m., George tended to the fire again. As the flames dimmed, he saw faces forming in the soot, which, if you don't know what soot is, do you know what it is? Soot. Is it soot? Oh. You know what? I took that out in my first draft. I should have just left it out. Okay, I'm assuming everyone knows what soot is. Anyway. So the soot was twisting demonic expressions that glared back from the brick before vanishing when he blinked. Another evening, after hearing scratching outside... Hold on. I should have brought my iPad too. George and one of the boys peered through a window and froze. Just beyond the glass, a pair of red eyes glowed in the darkness. I know. Not the red eyes. They looked like the eyes of a pig.
What?
I know. When George rushed outside, nothing was there, only still, frigid air. During the day, Kathy tried to maintain normalcy, but the house resisted. Drawers slid open by themselves, cabinet doors slammed, a knife once slipped from the counter and clattered to the floor, though no one was near it. Even their dog, Harry, refused to go near one section of the basement. It was a small, dark space near the wall. His fur would stand up whenever he was called over towards it, and he would let out a low growl.
Trust the dogs.
Yeah, trust the dogs. They can sense it. Yeah. But I also love his name, Harry.
Oh, yeah.
So another night, this time both George and Kathy were jolted awake at 3 a.m. by the sound of a marching band. Echoing through the house, drums pounding, trumpets blaring, footsteps in rhythm. The noise grew louder until it seemed like a full parade was marching through their living room, shaking the floorboards. George rushed downstairs, but the instant he reached the last step, the sound just stopped.
What?
The house fell silent, as if the phantom band had vanished into thin air.
They're with the flies.
Yes. Not sure why the marching band, but... Soon after, a new phenomenon appeared. Green slime. Disgusting. Green slime oozing from keyholes and door frames. It began as a faint residue, but thickened each day, seeping through the cracks in the walls and locks. They could not seem to get rid of it. And they did say it wasn't mold. Just FYI.
It's oozing?
It was oozing. Disgusting. So now we're getting into week 3. Kathy was startled awake one night by an icy chill. Her breath fogged the air, though the thermostat read normal. A crushing weight pressed on her chest, pinning her down, and for a fleeting moment she swore the mattress lifted off the bed before slamming back down. George sat nearby, staring toward the window, his eyes glazed, his body rigid, as though in a trance once again.
Just like a man doing
I
nothing
know.
to help.
Not helping at all. The next morning, Kathy looked in the mirror and gasped. Her reflection appeared aged, her skin pale, and her eyes sunken. Probably because of what she went through. Yeah. But
Let me guess, George is like rested and relaxed.
He's like, wow, you look like shit. However, it's okay. The vision only lasted a few seconds. But she fled the room trembling. When she told George, he said nothing. He was lost in the firelight of the fire again. He's
Sorry,
obsessed.
I have fire to watch.
I know. He's like, yeah, Kathy, shut up. Meanwhile, their youngest daughter, Missy, had found an imaginary friend named Jody, and she described Jody as a big pig that could fly. And she said that Jody didn't like people that were mean. One evening, Kathy caught Missy waving towards the window. When she looked closer, she saw 2 glowing red eyes, once again, staring back. She screamed for George, which, shocking, he wasn't in a trance. But by the time he arrived, they were gone. Later that night, Kathy and one of her sons saw a cloaked figure standing at the end of the staircase, which she describes as looking like a dark mass, darker than the dark around it. When they got close, it vanished. So a lot has happened so far, and we're 3 weeks in.
I was just going to say they lasted 28 days?
Literally. Like something's happening every minute in this house. I know. I feel like it's like pulling from different scary movies. It's all of them.
What do we have to do to get these people out of here?
I know. So, week 4, which is the breaking point. Like the first week would have been the breaking point for me.
The first hour.
Yeah. So by the 4th week, George was unraveling. He barely slept. He was pacing the floors. He was obsessively chopping wood. He was giving Jack Nicholson vibes. I feel like he was inspired. His temper became erratic. He would snap at small things and later forget doing it. The cold grew unbearable, frosting windows from the inside. Doors slammed with enough force to rattle the walls. And one night, the front door even blew off its hinges entirely. Crazy. Kathy's dreams turned violent. She saw flashes of the DeFeo murders, bodies sprawled, gunshots echoing, blood pooling beneath her feet. She awoke screaming, drenched in sweat, convinced she was reliving the violence imprinted on the house and that those dreams didn't belong to her.
Do they think they have like a point to prove? Like saying that?
Like, how long can I stay in for?
Yeah.
George woke one night to the children screaming. When he ran to the room, their beds were shaking, drawers rattling, and the crucifix on the wall spun upside down.
No.
Yeah. He grabbed it, pressed it against his chest, praying, but the room just grew colder and more
Don't touch
aggressive.
the spinning crucifix. What are you
That
doing?
would not be my first, like, have the kids get out of the room.
Yeah.
It's the crucifix. Desperate, George forced open the small basement space their dog avoided, I'm assuming to get some answers or something. And this was the infamous Red Room. The air that escaped was foul, suffocating. Inside the walls were deep crimson, the space tiny and claustrophobic, almost like a shrine. The family believed that this was the heart of the evil that consumed their home. I don't know how they came up with that. Maybe it was the stench. So, the last night. The last night began in eerie calm. Then came the chaos. Heavy footsteps thundered up. Now the chaos is starting. Not the last 4 weeks. Tonight. So the footsteps started thundering around upstairs. Doors slammed open and shut. And whispers echoed from inside the walls. And I just imagine, like, the doors are just, like, opening and shutting. Like, chaotic. Kathy's bed was lifted from the floor, sheets twisting around her like restraining hands. George tried to pull her free, but he felt invisible arms holding him down. Upstairs, Missy screamed that Jody... Thank you. Jody's angry. Jody's
Jody.
pissed off, I know. Not the pig.
She's oinking.
No, she's like, everyone's being mean. And then the boys were shouting outside that their windows had shattered open and the wind was roaring in. So you have the doors opening and shutting chaotically. Their windows are bursting open. The beds are being lifted off the ground. The pig is pissed off. Very crazy. But then silence. It just stops. The air went still. Without speaking, George and Kathy just looked at each other, grabbed their kids and the dog, fleeing into the freezing night, leaving all of their belongings and the lights still on. So, after that, the story did go public, and later in March of 1976, paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren entered the Amityville home accompanied by a TV crew. They conducted an infrared photography session that captured the now infamous photo of a ghostly boy peering from the staircase, which you have seen. Do you remember?
When did you showed me that?
Mm-hmm.
When?
We recorded it. Remember? He was like peeking out from the stairway. I'll remind you.
No, you don't.
After this,
I remember. I remember.
I don't think you do. I'll pull it up for everybody else. Lorraine later said that as she climbed those same stairs, she felt a crushing force against her chest, like walking into a waterfall, she described. She described it as one of the most malevolent energies she had ever encountered. The Warrens declared the house infested with demonic entities. Ed claimed to have been shoved by an unseen force. Lorraine reported visions of the DeFeo murders were playing around her. And that kind of concluded their paranormal investigation. So it sounds like they were believers. But isn't that story crazy? It's almost like unbelievable.
It sounds unbelievable. Which brings us to part 3 of our podcast. So you guys are in for a treat tonight. Normally, we only do true crime and paranormal, but tonight we're also covering a conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you didn't know, the Amityville Horror that is so famous and has launched books and movies was all made up. This is the Scooby-Doo section of our podcast where we unmask the people behind the hauntings. So, right after the Lutzes fled the house in January 1976, they meet up with William Weber, Butch DeFeo's defense attorney. Weber has heard about the Lutzes' stories and their stories. Yeah, about possessions and voices and hauntings. He also heard about Lorraine and what's her husband? Ed. The 2-lettered name, I can't remember. He hears about them going to visit. So he's got 2 light bulbs that go over his head. One is he wants to come up with this sensational book that ties the murders that his client has done to the demonic presence. And then 2, keep that angle handy to try and get his client out of jail. This guy did not like losing, so this is his plan. Say he was right and that the dude was actually insane or possessed. So this was not some like bar napkin thing that they just came up with. There were outlines. There's talks of collaboration between the Lutzes and Weber. There's talks about money that will be shared, as well as I even came up with a working title called Devil on My Back.
Oh.
Yep. So they sit down and they start popping bottles. I'm not joking. They said that they came up with this book over many bottles of wine, and these conversations are all recorded. So I'm guessing they probably get more and more unhinged as they go on. They're like, pig, let's go with it.
And then the bed's lifted. And then the shadow figure.
Yeah.
And then the doors.
Yeah. And then there will be a room. We'll close that
the
up
tiny
later.
red room.
Yeah. So Weber thinks he's in with the Lutzes, so he starts sketching out chapters of the book. However, the Lutzes are also talking with Prentice Hall, which is another publishing company. And editor Tom Mossman connects them to writer Jay Anson. So instead of co-writing this Devil on My Back book with Weber, the Lutzes send Anson about 40 plus hours of taped recollections they had from their wine chats with Weber. And from there, Anson shapes this into the Amityville Horror. This is the book we all know and love.
I want to hear those taped recollections.
I want to hear them so bad. So the Amityville Horror becomes an absolute monster bestseller. This is right after The Exorcist comes out. So like it's kind of like right time of like this is the first time people are really like demons are like what
like
vampires were
something?
when Twilight came out, everybody was doing vampires. Demons were the hot topic. So the Lutzes and Anson make millions of dollars, but Weber is cut out and pissed. So what does a pissed off lawyer do? He talks, and he talks loud. He immediately starts going to reporters, telling them that him and the Lutzes created this horror story over many bottles of wine. He will not leave the wine out of the story. And that when he shared the details of the DeFeo case with them, the Lutzes actually folded them into their own tale. So they started small, and then they were just like, yeah, Weber, keep talking. Like, give us more juice for the story that we're going to sell to somebody else. Yeah. So Weber's like, his whole plan was this joint book called Devil on My Back, and that tied the murders to this demonic presence that conveniently might help his client later. And he, again, is like, can I say it louder for somebody in the back? Whoever will listen to this, I'm going to tell you about it. So now cue the lawsuits. The Lutzes sue, Weber countersues. Everybody's suing everybody. And so the case lands in federal court. So first on the stand is the priest. So pissed off lawyer calls the priest up and says, so like you said in the story with the Lutzes, that Father Mancuso heard the get out and the hiss. Mm-hmm. But in 1979, Newsday actually interviewed the real priest, who was Father Ralph Carraro. Mm-hmm. Thanks. Soot.
You know what? I said you nailed it. I'll live with that forever.
So the real... Sorry, Taylor. So the real priest that actually went to this, that was said to have gone to the house, never actually went to the house. He had actually referred the Lutzes to a local parish. In later litigation, they attributed the Lutzes' own attorney stated that the priest's only actually contact was via that phone call. So they called the priest. He said, go to somebody else. They just never did and came up with this get out story. They said, we can do a better storyline. The weather and the windows that you talked about, the hurricane force night that supposedly bent locks and ripped doors. Weather records for the nights that they claimed showed modest winds, and a local cop pointed out if your doors are ripped off, you call the police. The Lutzes didn't until after they moved out. Yep. The full moon demon pig.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's full moon demon pig. That was the full name.
I just added that. So spooky pig face staring through a window by the light of a full moon. No full moon actually happened on that night. So oops to the Lutzes. And then finally the red room and the hardware that the dog didn't like. Mm-hmm. The next owners, who were Jim and Barbara Cromartie, nailed that one too, publicly said that they never experienced any hauntings and that the room that they said was the heart of hell, mm-hmm. that the doors, locks, and windows were all open. There was nothing in there, and they never again had any issues in the house. Like,
I bet it didn't smell sour.
No, they actually said it smelled super fresh.
Super fresh.
So all of it comes down to is that they screwed this Weber guy out of the book deal, and they came up with it together. But yeah, that is the debunking of the Amityville Horror.
Yay. You guys like it? I do feel like, though, Ed and Lorraine Warren, like 6 people were murdered there, so I'm sure they did pick up on some real stuff.
Oh, I'm sure. Like,
that part I feel like is real.
Yeah, we didn't make 6 people were murdered. That was
Mm-hmm.
that was real.
That happens.
Yeah, it's true crime. But yeah, so we like to always ask if anybody has something to tell us. If you guys have any experience, not you, Tim. Just kidding, you can talk too. But if you have any experiences or anything that you'd like to share with us, we always love to hear them.
Yeah.
Kylie, go.
Kylie.
Let's go.
All right.
She's my hero.
Yeah.
We went out to the forest not too long ago. This time we went skinwalker hunting once again. This time, it was raining and it was a blood moon, actually, so that was pretty nice. I think we brought lights and a camera. We drove out to near the mountains. It's right out of the neighborhood.
Your story was too scary.
I don't know. We went skinwalker hunting. We went right about, I think, out of the neighborhood. And Steven went out the car while I was filming. And we actually brought steak this time. We thought it would be something fun to do. And we brought that out. Steven walked 3 or 4 inches away from the car. And then he found this bush that he decided to go put the meat there. Then all of a sudden, the bush rattled, but there was no sound. The bush just moved. He ran back to the car and we yelled skinwalkers 4 or 5 minutes before we did it out the window. And then right as we tried to leave, the car would not turn on.
Ooh, that's
and
scary.
We tried to turn the car on. That didn't really work. But as we waited, it turned on. And then we were getting out, and then something was running against the car right next to it. And it's actually something we know of. It's called a chupacabra. Now, it's usually some dog that gets infected, and they'll go out in the forest and they'll kill pigs, or they can even kill a coyote.
Ooh,
That's
that's
crazy.
spooky.
And they'll usually leave 2 little bite marks.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a story with a farmer who had 7 pigs, 8 cows, and as he waited overnight, each animal died, and each one had a bite mark, but only 2 teeth got in. No
Oh,
other.
interesting. You know what's funny is, so the car turned off, then the mics turned off. I feel like there's a connection.
Might be. Both electricity.
It could be that too. I like to believe it's something scary. I love your skinwalker stories though.
Thank you.
She has a couple on the podcast, so if you guys listen, you can listen to Kylie.
She's our resident expert.
She is.
Yes.
Yay,
Thank
Kylie!
you, Thanks, Kylie.
Kylie, it's too bad you're so shy.
Did anyone else have anything? Any stories? Or we wrap it up?
No stories? All right. Well, thanks for coming
I
out,
know. Thank you for
guys. We really
listening.
appreciate it.